Yeah, let me see your love sign, let me see your love sign, let me see your love sign, everybody. Let me see your love sign, let me see your love sign, if you're there for love.
Hi everybody, my name is Eva Tra, as you can see it, and we believe in one nature, one future.
Yeah.
Be the love, be solution. 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 I made up my mind to be solution.
I believe in the power of forgiveness and kindness. I believe in justice, equality, and freedom for all. I believe in you. I believe when you walk in your purpose with clear defined goals and a burning desire to act, success will follow you like your shadow and you leave this world better than you found it.
I believe that if we want to see a different future, we have to be the ones to speak up.
I've seen firsthand around the world empowered youth making a difference for a more sustainable future. I have seen teenagers like me taking action to protect the corals in the South Pacific, work for a more sustainable agriculture in Africa, and recycling trash in South America. It is inspiring because it works and it makes a difference.
The IUCN Summit could not have come at a more impeccable time. Why? Because it is providing young people with a platform to connect, to exchange ideas, and to see how can we build together.
As young leaders, the climate and biodiversity crisis fills our minds and makes our hearts feel heavy. We're worried for our future. With eco-anxiety, we can feel alone and overwhelmed by the sheer scale of global issues. We can lose track of our power and our purpose, and we can even feel guilty for taking breaks and selfish for self-care when there's so much work to be done. But to avoid burnout, we need to prioritize self-care, because this work is a marathon, it's not a sprint.
ইউথ স্পিক্স ল্যাবসে অনেক আন্ডার রিপ্রেজেন্টেড ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজের ইউথসরা এসে এক অন্যের সঙ্গে আইডিয়াস এক্সচেঞ্জ করতে পেরেছে।
Young people who are passionate about what they do.
Connecting through storytelling.
With just a click, ideas came alive.
A collective goal.
Los representantes del Youth Speak están convirtiendo las ideas que compartiste en la cumbre en declaraciones de resultados, demandas de acción para la comunidad internacional.
Visitez le site de Youth Speak pour commenter le projet et contribuer avec votre voix.
Suborkang suara anak muda.
Let's work together
Toward our shared common vision.
One nature,
One future. Together we can.
Aujourd'hui, en tant que jeunes, on voudrait être intégrés dans tous les processus de prise de décision et aussi on voudrait une meilleure représentativité de toutes les régions du monde dans les négociations axées sur le climat. On vous remercie déjà pour vos efforts déjà fournis en ces termes et on vous invite à redoubler nos efforts ensemble pour avoir un futur meilleur pour nous tous.
Rendez-vous au Congrès mondial de la nature en septembre prochain pour continuer à partager les résultats du sommet avec les décideurs publics et tous les acteurs de la protection de la nature. Nous vous y attendons nombreux.
In the same way that our ecosystems are interconnected, our oceans and rivers and mangroves and mountains and forests, it's also important for us as people, in our different capacities of work in our countries, our understanding, our cultures, to also recognize how we are all interconnected and how we need to work together.
If you're working on water conservation, if if you're working on biodiversity issues, if you're working on climate change, if you're working on creating better democracies, if you're working on human rights, or if you're an indigenous youth, this is the place for you to create change.
You are your ancestors' wildest dreams. Keep that imagination nurtured, and whatever you do, don't lose sight of the possibility that you get to live in an even better world.
One nature.
One nature.
In one nature.
One nature.
In one nature. One nature. One future.
Hello, Global Youth Summit family. What's up, guys? Look at all that we've created. We've come together in a way that it's truly flipped how we engage as global youth. So I'm AY, one of the 17 United Nations Young Leader for the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm founder of the Battery Tour. I'm a musician, I'm an artist, but I'm truly just, a young person, and I believe in one nature, one future. So real quick, I realized I didn't tell you guys my story. You might not even know what a young leader is. Here is my story. Let me take a minute to show you guys what I do. Take it away.
A local hip-hop artist makes an international name for himself. He is the first artist to power his concert with 100% renewable energy.
It is a real honor to recognize Mr. A.Y. Young, the founder of Battery Tour.
It's incredible. Can't wait for you to see this. The United Nations is now throwing its support behind him.
Mr. Young has made a big impact in his young life, born in 1991. He's a singer-songwriter, a dancer, producer, entrepreneur, and sustainability advocate. He's staged and performed more than 800 concerts. He was named by the United Nations recently as one of 17 youth world leaders of the world. The only individual selected for that honor from the United States.
To stimulating this local economy further, bringing entrepreneurs together, bringing businesses together, bringing the world together so we can make some change.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know there's over 1 billion people who lack access to energy.
I'm AY with the Battery Tour, and we're here in Honduras. It's beautiful.
We send, develop, and deploy renewable energy to people around the world that need it. It's all about getting people access to electricity.
Save the planet, we gon' save the planet. Everybody looking at me like I'm from another planet.
We store energy in batteries and then use it to do a concert.
Solar power, witness.
I always wanted the world to hear my music, this message of positivity and spreading love. I just wanted to say hey to the world. You know, it's okay to be yourself. So I'm really here to help just push that message and get the world plugged in to renewable energy.
Yo, so now you guys know who I am. Shoot, that made me want to dance, guys. That's my song, Save the Planet. I think we can all save the planet together, right? Create this one future. Okay, great. So now you guys know who I am, and I think it's real important that we all feel empowered to make change. So I always talk about how I think everyone in the world is an outlet, for change, and we can all take that one action, that one step to create our one future. We just need to plug in and connect to the community around us and work together as one, guys. So let me take a minute to make sure everyone can hear me. Translation in French and Spanish, it's available by clicking the small globe in the lower right part of your Zoom screen and select the language in which you, how you want to listen to the meeting. So select the language that you want. That way, no matter what language is being spoken, you guys are going to hear the language of your choice. Now, if you need help, you can drop comments in the Zoom chat. The Zoom chat is below. And we have great people to help you guys out. Now, we really, truly have changed the way we can engage. So this summit it's opened a whole new way for youth engagement. Now, we met in over 60 workshops, 100 networking sessions. We linked up in the hashtag Youth Speak Labs, and we practiced body awareness. We learned how important it is to share our voices and to recognize that our voices are unique, dynamic, and diverse, guys. So we hope all of you found inspiration, stories of projects that are creating solutions. I hope you guys all met people who you continue to exchange with, stay plugged in and connected to, right, guys? And I hope that you all felt able to contribute, right? To be that outlet for change, to take that action. So now we move forward together, right? All plugged in as one, guys. Now we have an official Global Youth Summit outcome statement. So I'm gonna say that, I want to welcome some very cool people who are going to take a unique approach to help us reflect on what has taken place over the last 10 days. So Austin Willisey, I hope I say these names right, Mr. Austin, who founded the Black Diaspora Jam and the Arts for Social Change jams in the US, Turkey, and India. And then Micah Hedler, Forbes 30 Under 30 for Music, who founded the Jerusalem Youth Chorus and Israeli-Palestinian Music and Dialogue Project. And now he works with the Justice Choir, campaigning for environmental justice through music. Music is a beautiful vehicle. That sounds amazing. I present the Raise Your Voice Labs.
I'm really honored to be here today and to have the opportunity to start us off with a song. This is a song about sort of the level of dissociation and disempowerment that a lot of us feel around how to engage with the environmental challenges that are facing us. And it's kind of a call to action and a reminder that we actually have the power to shape things and shift things if we engage. It's called Waiting for Someone Else. We keep throwing things away, but we don't know where that is. We don't even feel dismay. We think it all just disappears. Try to change that may help to slow the fall, but it's hard to pave the way when we won't agree to follow your protocol. Everybody
are only thinking from the cradle to the grave. That's just part of why it's broken down. We are trained to blind ourselves to messes that we made. If we can't see it, it's not there, it's just not there, it's just not in the air we breathe. Let everybody wants somebody else to say the name. It's too hard to face it, so we all just look away. For Superman to take our problems up a better way. So rather see than wait for someone else. And we are hoping some may pray that everything is copacetic, that there's an angel on the way. But that's just too damn poetic. And there is so much more to say, but I worry we won't get it. Round the bend from much too late. But we're so good at forgetting. 'Cause everybody wants somebody else to say the day. We're all too busy doing something else to change your ways. So don't you look for leadership from the USA. Rather than wait for someone else. Because everybody wants somebody else to say the day. It's too hard to face it, so we all just look away. When we finish up here, we'll strip mine the Milky Way. Rather see than wait for someone else to save the day.
Hey everyone, that was just amazing. Austin, thank you so much, as always, for starting us off in just such a musically grounded and inspiring way. And AY, thank you so much for that kind introduction and for all that you do. It's really, really exciting to be here. My name is Micah Hendler. As AY said, I'm the founder and artistic director of the Jerusalem Youth Chorus, chorus and dialogue program for Israeli and Palestinian young people, and have worked with many other contexts, and together with Austin, I'm the co-founder of Raise Your Voice Labs. And Raise Your Voice Labs, we call ourselves a creative culture change company, and are thinking about the different ways that we can leverage music to give a platform for people's voices to be heard in new ways and for people to come together in new ways. And so, as we like to say, we can make anybody's mission walk, talk, dance, and sing. And there is no more critical mission in my mind than all the work that y'all are doing right now to literally save our planet.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Austin, go for it.
Yeah, so really honored to be here, to be a part of this, and have been really inspired by getting to hear from so many different voices about what is going on, what the needs are, what are the demands for action. So just wanted to say thank you so much, and really looking forward to what's coming next.
Word. Over the last 2 weeks of the Global Youth Summit, the Youth Speak Labs, as y'all know, have held conversations about biodiversity conservation, environmental justice, and sustainable development. And today we're going to celebrate those conversations and everything that has happened at the summit. But it doesn't end here, because we're launching a campaign and a consultation process to share your ideas for conservation, your actions for biodiversity, and your demands for change with the international community. As part of that, we're going to help build a music video together, all many thousand of us. And to help us do this and to reflect on the summit and brainstorm for our song, Austin and I and 6 of your amazing Youth Speak reps are going to guide you through a little bit of a process where we can collectively harvest some wisdom of what we've learned, what we're up to. The Youth Speak reps, we've got Christiane from Trinidad and Tobago. She's a small islands regional facilitator for the major group on children and youth at the UN Environment Program. We've got Emmanuel, the executive director of We Do Green, a tree planting and youth education organization building peace in Rwanda through environmental activism. Y'all are amazing. We've got Diana, a sustainable business expert and environmental storyteller based in Lithuania, who serves as a co-chair of the steering committee at Coalition Wild. We've got Mona, an environmental engineer from Yemen who champions WASH services in the midst of humanitarian crises. Y'all are unbelievable. Chunman, who's a chemical and environmental engineer from Hong Kong, passionate about global water challenges and science communication. And Sweta, a wildlife biologist by training, currently serving as the Global South focal point for the Global Youth Biodiversity Network. Wow. I'm so excited to be here with all of you. This is amazing. Christiane, take it away.
We've had an incredible 2 weeks at the summit, packed full of content. It's been full of brilliant ideas and insights from all of you. As Youth Speak reps, our role is to take all of the learning and sharing that has been happening and shape it into outcome documents that we can then share with the rest of the world. And we've been supported in that process by an incredible group of volunteer rapporteurs who have attended each session to capture the takeaways.
And we have been so inspired reading through these reports that we wanted to start this conversation by sharing some of your words from workshops, from networking sessions and dialogues. Here is just a taste of what you have taught us these past 2 weeks.
You cannot conserve what you don't understand.
We can't separate nature and culture.
When we look at nature, we see ourselves.
As you and I have a right to live, the river has a right to flow.
There is only one Earth.
There's only one ocean.
We need to engage young people in all their diversity.
It isn't just about the outcome. It's about how we get there.
We are not your photo op.
We can't say ambition without support.
English is not the language of conservation.
I was born colonized, but I will not die colonized.
We need to heal our people and our land.
Nothing about us without us.
Participation is not only a matter of choice, it is our right. On that note, the Rights and Governance team explored legal and policy frameworks in the Youth Speak Labs. The outcome discussion in the Youth Speak Labs focused on how to build capacity and engage public participation in environmental governance. But it wasn't just about youth, because youth are underrepresented in environmental decision-making, but we aren't the only ones. Our first question asks you to identify who and what are left out of conservation conversations, whose voices go unheard. Tokenism continues to plague intersectional and intergenerational conversations. Youth and marginalized voices are included for the sake of inclusion, to tick a box or fill a slot, as we discussed in the intergenerational dialogue this week. This is a priority for the next generation, to ensure that we are invited for our skills and initiative, and not just our inherent labels. Please share with us on the Jamboard in the chat whose voices you feel are underrepresented in environmental decision-making.
So everyone should hopefully see what Becca Farnham shared, the link to the Jamboard. If you click on it and you check out an opportunity there to put up Post-it notes, to draw, to add pictures, to do whatever you feel is an answer to this question of whose voices go unheard. And the only thing I will ask is that as you do that, if you share something on the Jamboard, please move it from the initial spot to somewhere else that isn't also obscuring someone else's answer so that we can see everything. Otherwise, everything will just pile up in the top left corner, which is less helpful. And we hope that you enjoy it and just enjoy seeing all of the amazing things that everybody has to say. I feel like Jamboards are a really cool way to just see all of the different voices in one place at one time.
So my favorite part of the outcome statement are the 3 values that come at the beginning of the statement and guide it: diversity, accessibility, and intersectionality. And what's really important about all of this is that we're not just saying we want these values and we're talking about what these values are about, but we're also saying that for any of these values to come about, for any of the things that we've discussed throughout this time to come about, we need significant international investment. And we've asked for this investment to go in 3 different directions. To start first with a commitment to sustainable peace. As someone from Yemen who's experienced war through different parts of my lifetime, as somebody, and not necessarily being on the front zone, but seeing how that has affected my environment, my climate, my people's environment and climate, and seeing how that through this conference, I had the opportunity to see how that actually also affected other people in the Middle East region and in other places. It's simply impossible for us to go talking about climate change if we cannot meet today's needs. And that's why the first significant international investment that we're asking for, it starts with a commitment to sustainable peace. And then the next thing we're asking for is this investment to again go in providing adequate funding for the implementation of all the things we've talked about, of all the things that we've mentioned in the outcome statement, but also of these values that we've put together. And then lastly, it's about moving away from a reactionary policy to a long-term policy of acknowledging where we are, knowing where we're going if we continue on this path, and really charting a path that includes mitigation, that includes adaptation, and that pulls us forward in a targeted manner. And unless we put in funding into this, we are not going to be able to hear diverse voices. We're not going to be able to implement diverse strategies. We are not going to have access to these high-level events, and we're not going to see intersectionality unless we invest in all of these things.
Thank you so much, Mona. I just want to note, I was looking at the Jamboard. It looks like someone accidentally deleted all of the Post-it notes on the first page. So in case that was you, please Control Z. Thank you. Otherwise, we're just going to keep repopulating it.
Yeah, and it was a really eye-opening experience last week and this week, hearing all the diverse perspective from the marine and freshwater workshops in this summit. And indeed, water intersects many different aspects of society. Accessibility is really important. It's not just access to water, but also the access to data. And that also ties to conversations that we have about citizen science, how with phones and sensors, we've seen youth-led water testing networks spring up, and people are able to mark or geotag where water pollution problems are. And that can force cities and villages to address water quality problems in the community. And as if the water itself is telling us to do something with it, that's very inspiring. And so now we would also like to take this moment to ask our audience, through the Jamboard link that we will post on the chat, how does water speak in your culture? What does water mean to you? And how has water shaped you? And for Mona, the same questions to you. What does water mean to you?
So I will start with the last question, and how has water shaped me? I think it has really become my passion. I grew up in a place that was super water scarce, but I was lucky to have an okay amount of water given the country that we live in. But it has really become a passion of mine, if not the passion of mine. I've now moved on and have put together an entire career around access to water. And as I've participated in this conference, I've learned more about the intersections of accessibility to water and climate change and how to do that in an environmentally sustainable way. And for me, as cliche as it sounds, really, water is life. In my line of work, in my life, I've seen so many children go out for hours looking for water. And in that trip, that has become their daily reality, that has become their daily lifestyle. They are not able to go to schools. They sometimes cross mine lands to get to water sources. So to me, I've always seen water as life. And if you cannot get water in your life is going to revolve around getting water. And that is all it's going to be about. And I've seen that day in and day out. And in my culture, I think the biggest way that water speaks is through the lack of water. We don't see water around. We don't see water fountains. We don't see ever greenery, like year-long greenery. We don't have water, and that's the biggest way or the loudest way it keeps on speaking in our lifetime and in my country. And then again, you see things like other countries and where water is there all the time. And for most people, this is not different from what they've lived through. But I remember my biggest memory leaving the country was, oh my God, this is all green. There's water everywhere. So that for me has really become what water means.
Yeah.
What about you? How do you see water?
And to me, growing up on an island, I very much feel that water is a part of me. And I see how water connects across different cultures, connects all of us, and everyone has a relationship with it. And like you said, water is life. And so as we reflect the role of water, we can also see it cutting across different issues like climate change, environmental management, biodiversity protection, human health, food sovereignty, livelihood and security, and so many more things. And while we still see marine plastic problems and how coastal communities are affected by climate change, we also see water helping people uniting together to demand changes and actions. Because indeed, water is life. And so on the Jamboard, we are seeing a lot of different ideas, different voices coming up about water is life, river have the right to flow, about how water relates to flooding, relates to food. And this is all really great. And thank you for all of you who share your voices. And I would like to pass it on to Emmanuel to talk more about the importance of keeping youth engaged and keeping our dialogues going. Off to you, Emmanuel.
Well, thank you so much, Johnnyman. It was really a wonderful experience getting to connect with global youth community and getting to dive deeper, discussing around emerging global environmental issues and development issues. As we improve youth engagement in environmental policymaking, build access and address underrepresentation, we can champion other voices. Nature needs us to be translators and speak up for it. We heard about this campaign from Mika during intergenerational conversation on tokenism, which you can now access in the chat. I think they can help us share in the chat. And we really were inspired. So we thought to ask you, what do you speak for? There are some examples from Global Biodiversity Network Button campaign on Jamboard. Please go check them. As we work for nature, in which humanity lives in harmony with nature, we want to ask you, who and what do you speak for? What part of nature do you want to champion? I personally speak for trees. And here is why. Trees purify the air we breathe, bring us water, energy, and food. Trees are life. I would now like to invite you to please just head on the Jamboard, which is now shared in the chat, and share photos, words, names of animals, plant species, and other environmental beings you would like to showcase. And please tell us why you care. And just in the meantime, I just want to ask Diana, why do you care about trees? What trees mean in your life?
Trees and the greenery of plants give me peace of mind. They really calm me, and the green areas in the city, they allow me to have some moment of relaxation. And thank you for this wonderful question, Emmanuel. I also would like to share with you what we talked about in creative responses discussions, creative responses to the planetary emergency and the connection between arts, engineering, and solution. What tool or idea are you taking away from this summit? In the chat box, you will be shared a link to another Jamboard on new tools. So go ahead and share with us. What did you learn? What is a new piece of information or skill you have now? And in the meantime, I would like to share a story that I observed happening over the past 2 weeks. So we had another session of talking about creative responses to climate emergencies. And this schoolboy joins the session later on in the session and asks, "What are you discussing here?" And as I told him about creative responses to climate emergencies, I asked to share his opinion on what could be the solutions. And he went like, "Well, governments need to take action. Look at the pandemic situation. They told us to stay at home, and we all comply." And to me, this will stay with me after the summit. When there's a wish, there's an action. And indeed, this context of global pandemics, we can learn also very many tools and solutions that could be replicated and applied in the climate emergency context. Austin, would you like to take over?
I absolutely would. I just want to say I'm really excited to see what's happening on the Jamboards now. Y'all are going crazy in the best possible way. Under new tools, we have people writing about theory of change, people recognizing and claiming the fact that their voices matter just as much as the experts and speakers, and people feeling that they become more empowered every time they speak their truth. On the who you want to speak for, people want to speak for the ocean, endangered keystone species, for their people, and also the peatlands. So it's still popping, and there's some beautiful images that are getting placed upon these Jamboards too, expanding to multiple pages as well. And then going back to the water one, we also have "We made from water every living thing" as a quote. Zihan Kai, "Without a healthy ocean, we cannot thrive." And again, that's a really beautiful thing to lift up, because it's not just about sustaining, right? Sustaining means keeping things at the level that they're currently going. And this summit is happening because things need to change. So we're not about sustainability, we're about change. We're about getting to a regenerative place. We want things to thrive. So I'm just loving the way that these Jamboards are popping off. Keep going, y'all. Keep giving things, populating it. Fighting against the climato-skeptic community. Yes, yes, yes. Speaking for the community, my people, for my plants. Les forêts sacrées sont élémentaires pour conserver la biodiversité, en français. Fantastic. Loving what y'all are doing. And we'll check back in with those, and I'm going to pass it to Shweta.
Thank you, Austin. We all know the urgency of the planetary emergency we are in now. We also know how much energy, passion, and commitment all of you have. You have told us your dream, your vision for a future that is fair, just, and sustainable. You also told us how we can get there through the Youth Speak Labs outcome documents, linking them to the For Nature Youth Manifesto. Now, let's show how we can work together to make this future a reality. We've had so much excitement, empowerment over these last 2 weeks, and this amazing journey we've had through the IUCN Global Youth Summit. We are now coming to an end, and we are moving to the next phase, time for action. As a part of this next phase of action, given along with IUCN and all of your support, we want to launch an exciting campaign. Your promise, our future. We want to tell the world, our leaders, everybody, the kind of future that we want, not just in words, but in action. We want to show them what we are willing to do. So share your personal commitments for action with us. Help us amplify your demands for action so that we can tell the world about it. I hope all of you can join this campaign that we are starting. We're really excited about it. I hope you can all join the campaign Biodiversity, Your Promise, Our Future, and share with the world what your promise for the future is. And not just share it, but inspire other youth, decision makers, civil society to tell us what their promise is. And let's put some pressure on the world to, start acting, not just, talking, but also acting. So as my last word, what is your promise? Share with us your action for our future, and check out the jam boards on promises. Back to you, Oscar.
Thank you. Amazing. People are already getting going on this. Sudha from India promises to research sharks and rays, promote fisheries management, and raise awareness about marine conservation.
Anna from Catalonia promises to work to ensure the adequate participation of subnational governments under CBD and IUCN, and to ensure the effective implementation of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework in Catalonia.
And climate activist Patrick Bello promises to fight for climate justice by pushing for systemic change and creating space for youth to meaningfully engage in policymaking and decision-making processes. We are so excited to see more of your promises and reflections. Thanks to everyone for showcasing what the summit has meant for you, and keep adding to the Jamboards. We'll be back later to turn your stories into song.
Oh yeah.
AY, over to you.
Yo, thank you, Micah. What's up, guys? Thank you, RYBL. That's what I love to see, man. People plugging in, right? Like I said, we're all outlets for change. This is what it's all about. All of us being able to take that one action. Now, guys, by the way, I am plugged in to anyone who follows me at AY Music with a K, not a C, any of the hashtags today, and anyone who plugs in to the Battery Tour, guys, at Battery Tour. I will follow back today and check out more about me later. Anyway, we have to plug in so that we can own this summit, right? One day we can look back and say, yeah, that was great. Or we can, look back and realize that this was the moment when we changed, right? When we plugged in, we became outlets for change. We came together and created this world that we want to live in, right? We choose, guys. I just want us to really understand that, hey, we choose where we go from here. It's entirely up to us. We can choose, what the meaning of the summit, is. We can choose how we own this, how we care for the outcomes, where we take them, how we share them with our families, our communities, how we infuse them into our work, our art, our lives. We each can leave this summit with more than what we came in with. So it's amazing, guys, to see all of you guys sharing great content from the summit like this. We're going to come back to everything you're putting on these Jamboards later. So keep adding to these Jamboards, and remember that this is literally just the beginning, right? Like after this summit, you can still add your voice to the GYS outcomes by visiting our website. So I want to invite some more reflections. Right? Let's bring up some more voices that really have helped make this possible. So over to you, Hannah.
Thank you so much, AY. Thank you. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone tuning in that this panel will be multilingual. So please just take a moment to go to the bottom right of your screen where you will see a little globe icon, and here you can select the language in which you'd like to listen to the panel. So please make your selection now as we get the panelists joining us on the screen. Wonderful. So my name is Hannah Musa, and I have been working with IUCN for the past 2 years, assisting in the organization of the forum as part of the IUCN Congress, taking place in September this year. As part of my work for Congress, I have also been helping to organize IUCN's first ever Global Youth Summit, together with our Congress Youth Engagement Coordinator, my colleague, dear friend, and partner in crime, Camila Perez Gabilondo. On behalf of Camila and myself, let me just say how absolutely humbling this moment is for us after over a year of imagining and planning to bring this summit to life, together with an incredible team and the support of countless colleagues, partners, and all of you wonderful participants. What an experience it's been, far beyond our expectations. As we bring the summit to a close, it is truly an honor to be here today with this very special and inspiring group of individuals who are joining us to share some reflections. This distinguished group is going to help us take stock of what we've accomplished so far over the past 10 days, and perhaps more importantly, talk about where we go from here. We want to make sure that the networks created and the momentum built connects us to the very important work being done around the world by youth, together with youth. While there are many impressive youth constituencies, networks, and initiatives around the world here with us today at the summit as well, part of our challenge is to find a way to truly bring all our efforts together to ensure we are collaborating, amplifying, and unifying our voices to act for nature. This is why we have invited our distinguished group here today to help us do just that. So without further ado, let me introduce our inspiring panelists. First, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome to the panel IUCN's Director General, Dr. Bruno Oberle. Next, joining us from Zimbabwe is Priska Daka, a young woman who serves as the National Coordinator of the Zimbabwe Youth Biodiversity Network, part of the Global Youth Biodiversity Network. It is my honor to welcome next Ms. Elizabeth Maruma Marema, Executive Secretary of the Convention on Biological Diversity. The CBD has led the UN conventions as a model for engaging young voices in the policy space. So we are thrilled you are joining us here today, Ms. Marema. Bringing to the table the views of how to maintain engagement in the climate movement, we welcome young African climate activist Manal Bidar from Morocco. Manal is the communications lead for Yango, the Children and Youth Constituency to the UN FCCC, and a fellow Model UNer. Welcome, Manal. Joining us from Canada, I'm so pleased to welcome to our panel my colleague, Isabella Baltzerjak, Communications Officer for the Nature for All movement at Parks Canada. Next, we have Archana Sareng, a young Indigenous woman from the Kariya tribe in India, who is also a member of the UN Secretary General's Youth Advisory Group on Climate Change. We are so pleased to also have with us today Ugratna Srivastava, a member of the Secretariat for the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, MGCY, and Global Focal Point for UNEP MGCY. Finally, thank you for joining us, Madame Bérangère Abba, Secretary of State to the Minister for Ecological Transition in charge of biodiversity in France. It is an honor having you here with us today, Madame la Ministre. Wow, what a panel we have in store for us today. Thank you for joining us. The voices we have gathered here today are brilliant. However, so are the voices of every single one of you who is part of this Global Youth Summit. So as we move through the panel and you hear something that speaks to you, please do drop a message in the chat, share your reflections, favorite moments, and plans for how you will take forward the outcomes from the summit in your communities, countries, and regions. We want to hear from you. Now, Without our Director General, none of this would have been possible. So I would like to open the panel and ask our DG, Dr. Bruno Oberle, to reflect on what it means for IUCN that we are now at the close of our first ever Global Youth Summit. Over to you, Bruno.
Thank you, Anna, and good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you all to participate and to join this IUCN Global Youth Summit. I'm deeply impressed by what you have achieved during these past 10 days. You have gathered thousands of attendees from around the world and deeply discussed a really broad range of topics. This summit was organized by, led by, and populated by you, the world global youth. And this is not a wonder. If we reflect a second, more than half of the population of this planet is younger than 35 years. 80% and more are coming from the global south, and slightly more than half are women. So the typical citizen of this planet is a young woman from, let's say, Africa, India, China, or South America. And this is the reason because this discussion that you have are so important, because these discussions are shaping not only the current discussion, but they will shape the way in which the population of this planet will look at the nature tomorrow. It is inspiring to see this impressive engagement and participation from around the world. Thank you a lot. And we were honored at IUCN to help you organizing this. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you so much, Bruno. Thank you for those words of support and encouragement. And truly, none of this would have been possible without the support of IUCN and yourself. So thank you very much. One of our earliest youth constituencies we consulted as we started to dream up this Global Youth Summit was the Global Youth Biodiversity Network, Gibbon. I'd like to now turn to Priska. First, thank you to Gibbon for your support over the past year. Priska, please do share with us your favorite moments from the summit, as well as how you see the Global Youth Summit outcomes complementing and enhancing Gibbon's efforts in championing the Youth Manifesto. Priska, over to you.
Thank you so much, Hannah, and hello to everyone. What an exciting 10 days it has been, and a lot of young people joined the summit from all over the world, and that was very remarkable. And I had the privilege of facilitating in some of the sessions, and the energy and powerful examples of young people doing amazing things was just so inspiring. And as young people, one thing that I learned is that we are not tied down to conventional thinking, and we see problems differently, and we arrive at different solutions. And as the Global Youth Biodiversity Network, we had the pleasure of being a key partner in this summit, and we hope to see some of the outcomes being picked up by decision makers, especially on issues to do with indigenous rights and meaningful engagement of young people in the decision-making process and intergenerational equity. And some of the concrete steps that we can take as young people going forward from here is to engage with our decision makers in our different countries, and to ensure that some of these outcomes are also adopted as well, and to just bring our views and concerns to the decision makers. As GYBN, we are actively engaged and involved in the post-2020 global biodiversity framework process, and together collectively as young people, we can enhance the position of young people under the Convention of Biological Diversity by ensuring that our voices are included in this framework that seeks to protect global biodiversity. And we as the GYBN take our position and our role under the CBD very seriously, and together with our amazing community, our amazing chapters all over the world, we're engaging different focal points, and we continue to do this through capacity building sessions. Some we hold online, and some hold in person, and to just continue mobilizing young people, and to just build on this momentum that we have created through this summit. And it's so amazing to see how some of the outcomes from this summit also links with the work that we are doing as the GYBN, especially when some of the priorities that we are seeing from the summit are also similar to the priorities that also came up through the Youth Manifesto, which is another great document curated by collective young people all over the world. And this is just a document that is meant to galvanize greater commitment, ambition, and accountability from our global leaders. And the clear message that we want to send through this manifesto is that we need to prioritize nature in all decision-making processes and foster ambition for transformative change. So one of the biggest mistakes that we can make as young people is to assume that engaging governments isn't worth it, because you can't change something that you are not engaged in. So we would like to encourage all young people to get involved. We have the greatest role in maintaining this momentum, and one way we can do that is to continue connecting with and learning from and supporting each other in the months leading up to the COP15, COP26, and other important meetings in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priska. I think for me, what resonated the most with what you just said was that young people, all of us, we cannot change something we are not engaged in. And that is such an important message for us to remember as we keep moving forward. We can call to action. We want to hold decision makers accountable, but we cannot change it if we're not engaged in the process. And I think that's such a meaningful message to take forward as we move ahead. Thank you, Priska. Of course, when we hear from Gibbon, we also want to hear from CBD. And we are honored to have Ms. Elizabeth Marema with us to share some reflections. Elizabeth, we have had the pleasure of hearing from your colleagues, David and Jyoti, on our intergenerational dialogues last week. And it was truly inspiring to learn of the incredible efforts the CBD is making to further the active role of young people in its work. Building upon these efforts, we would love to hear from you today what the CBD could do to help us create a space for the outcomes from the summit to be meaningfully taken up. And also, how can we use the post-2020 process to address issues that are of utmost importance to youth, together with youth? Over to you, Ms. Marema.
Thank you very much, Hannah. It's indeed fascinating to just hear the voices I've heard in the last exactly probably an hour, 45 minutes. The short messages which said it all. And you are asking what exactly the CBD can do. I think we are already doing a lot. And the Global Network on Biodiversity and through its network can satisfy to that. I know Christian is one of us. Unless he says no, he has the right to do so. But over the last 10 years, youth engagement in the Convention on Biological Diversity has continuously continued to grow and increased and further promoted. Personally, I do believe, and I like what the Zimbabwe colleague just said, our processes, the decision makers are the parties are the governments. So unless you engage with the government, then the voices will not be heard. And the previous speaker has underlined that, which are also equally underlined. It is for that reason that through the Global Youth Network, particularly for the last 2 years, we have even further strengthened the youth engagement in our processes, and particularly the last 2 years in the development of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. And even now on our roadmap to the next Conference of the Parties or UN Biodiversity Conference, which will actually adopt that Global Biodiversity Framework. So we want the youth to be sitting with the parties who are the government and participate in the negotiations. I've repeatedly been saying in my many statements with the youth, you are the leaders of tomorrow. My period, Bruno's period will soon end. You are the one who will take the leadership of the planet. You are the one who will actually do the on-the-ground implementation of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. By then, Bruno and me, I'm sure, would have retired in less than 10 years or just before then. Who will take the leadership role? You who are the youth now. So you need to understand what is this being negotiated, what is in it. So we should not just say water is life, speaking to ourselves. We should remind the decision makers that if water is life, and this is the water I need to drink 20 years beyond today, then I need to see what will this come in this document that will protect my life 20 years and beyond, when the negotiators now will not be there those 20, 30 years to come. So yes, youth are recognized as credible partners under the convention. We will continue to make that space for the young people in our processes, and delighted that the youth, you are inspired and energized to support this process going forward. Beyond the fact that the young people are part of the youth group, you are also the individuals in your own way, the consumers. When we talk of the choices, the youth are the great influences. Tell me, if the youth say today we are not wearing t-shirts and jeans, will there be production of t-shirts and jeans? So as consumers, we know also among the youth, there are parents. They are already leaders. Even your own introduction has demonstrated that. You are professionals, and therefore you can contribute that experience and knowledge in these specific areas which we are negotiating. And under the convention, of course, we will continue to integrate you, the youth, and your priorities in our programs and processes, as we do so also for women, for girls, as well as the indigenous peoples and local communities. And that will continue. We will also continue to work for your benefit with other partners and donors to be able to support your activities on the ground and the initiatives. And this is how we have also been able to support the activities of the global network, because we play that bridge to be able to work with different partners and donors to support your work. So those initiatives which you are initiating, those initiatives, and through those initiatives, I know through the global network, you have reached hundreds of youths, and you have reached already millions on the importance of the convention. But when we say the importance of the convention, it's not the convention, the document, but what is inside the convention. And the messages have said that conservation of biological diversity, sustainable use, sharing of the benefits. We don't want just to utilize and you don't see the benefits, or the benefits are distributed unfairly. So equity, equality need to be seen in terms of those sharing. So youth are really important actors, and Bruno even said between the age of 15 and 24 years old, you count 15% of the global population. The leaders and the institutions worldwide must not only give you space on the table, but we need to also recognize that you, the young people, are part of the solution, and therefore important allies in supporting all our processes moving forward. So investing on the youth, we are actually investing in our common future. Now I'm saying it is common future, but tomorrow it will be your future and the future of your children or my grandchildren. So really creating that space for us is important, and we are already creating that. And the messages of your summit in the last 2 weeks, much as I was not able to attend all of them, but I have my boss Chantal, who was with you throughout, has clearly told me that, through the UNESCO survey, which was just launched about 2 weeks ago, 2/3 of the 15,000 respondents have identified climate change and biodiversity loss as the top global challenges of today, followed by conflicts, violence, discrimination, and the others. And you are playing that pivotal role in that process. You want to see the transformative changes, and therefore realigning those priorities, values, and behavior and actions to live in a world that is equitable and sustainable in the future is key. Your messages clearly resonate with the aims and several elements of the currently updated zero draft of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. And I'm delighted that over the last 2 weeks, that framework has come up over and over and over. But remember, negotiations are continuing. In fact, just about to begin in earnest. From next month, negotiations will take up. And this is the time and the opportunity for the youth to make sure your voices are not just heard, but they are acted upon. And that can only happen by not talking to yourself, talking to the decision makers, playing that role, being that negotiation table. The space has already been created for you, and therefore please utilize it, and utilize it effectively. Because as I said at the beginning, you are the implementers of that framework. It will not be me, it will not be Bruno, it will be you and your children or our grandchildren. So please, this is the moment. And for us, we will continue to support your manifesto. We'll continue to promote the outcomes of your summit as we lead up to our conference of the parties in October. So we are there with you, and we'll continue to hold your hand as you continue to hold ours. You are the future generation. You are the future leaders, and we continue to do what we can to make sure your actions are really translated into the on-ground impacts moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. You are such a beacon of leadership for young people, older generations, just the world. Everyone should be listening to you, championing the voices of youth, actively engaging in these spaces. And I think we've all got our marching orders from you very clearly as to what we need to do next. You have created the spaces for us. Thank you for that. We need to implement change, and we need to be at the negotiating table. And Elizabeth is welcoming us there and urging us to join. So now it is on us to act. Thank you, Ms. Mrema.
Thank you.
One of the most pervasive challenges we face as a global community, as we just heard from Elizabeth and many of our panelists, are the impacts of climate change. Throughout the summit and the youth leadership dialogues and Youth Speak Labs, we've heard about the interconnected nature of climate change, biodiversity, health and well-being, ecosystem management, nature-based recovery, and much more. Manal, as a young woman and a climate activist, what have you taken away from this summit? What do you believe are the next steps for Youngo to take forward the outcomes from the Global Youth Summit? And what role does communications play in all of this? Over to you, Manal.
Thank you. I will be speaking in French. Merci beaucoup, Anna, pour l'introduction et merci à vous tous. Permettez-moi d'abord de vous remercier pour l'invitation et pour vous féliciter pour le grand succès de ce sommet. Aujourd'hui, j'ai l'honneur de parler au nom de Youngo en tant que chargée de communication, mais aussi en tant que jeune membre. Youngo, pour ceux qui ne connaissent pas Youngo, c'est le groupe officiel des enfants et des jeunes de la IUCN, la Convention cadre des Nations Unies sur le changement climatique. Cela signifie que nous sommes le mode officiel d'engagement des jeunes dans les négociations et les processus de la CNUCC, avec déjà plus que 10 000 membres et organisations. Ce sommet déjà, a été pour nous une très grande opportunité d'évaluer les efforts globaux en termes d'action climatique, notamment d'après les sessions de réseautage, les ateliers Youth-Lab, les différentes interventions des organisations, gouvernements, institutions, etc. Et aussi d'après les différentes sessions que Youngo a organisées, y inclut la session d'hier et la session du lundi dernier. Ce sommet a été aussi une très grande motivation pour Youngo. En effet, nous avons témoigné un très grand engagement et une très grande motivation qui nous a inspiré fortement en tant que Youngo à renforcer nos efforts en termes d'action climatique. On planifie à organiser plusieurs ateliers et à reproduire le même esprit que nous avons témoigné lors des sessions Youth Lab. Un magnifique esprit de jeunesse. Et cependant, en termes de communication, nous avons témoigné l'impact des sessions de réseautage et nous prévoyons à en tirer des leçons, car on va faire de notre mieux pour créer un réseau ou une plateforme afin que ces jeunes, les jeunes du monde entier et aussi nos membres qui partagent notre même vision et notre même objectif à changer le monde et à mettre fin au changement climatique, sinon à ralentir sa cadence. Aujourd'hui, plus que jamais, il nous convient de célébrer cette cérémonie de clôture, mais ce n'est que le début. Notre journée est encore très longue et il nous faudrait d'unifier nos efforts afin de concrétiser les promesses faites lors de ce sommet. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Manal. Thank you very, very much. I think it is so important we all remember as we move forward the unifying voices that we need to push forward. We need to build these networks. We need to unify our efforts. And what better way to do it than through the multiple communications channels that we have at our fingertips these days. Thank you, Manal, for your intervention. This summit would not have been possible without the tremendous support of Parks Canada. Isabella, as a young professional working with Parks Canada, a member of the Young Professionals Network led by the Canadian Committee for IUCN, and most importantly, a fellow Torontonian, what has this experience meant for you? And how do you use the momentum and networks built during the summit to further inspire Canadian youth and young professionals to act for nature? Isabella, over to you.
Thank you, Hannah. A big thank you as well to all the Canadian partners of the Global Youth Summit that helped make this immersive virtual experience possible. While I have been asked to represent Canada as a young professional, I do not speak for all Canadians and can only share my experiences so far and help communicate some of the needs of young people across the country on this global platform. A little about myself. I'm a 24-year-old Polish Canadian from Toronto. I've had the amazing opportunity to work at Parks Canada for the past few years, and I'm also a member of the Young Professionals Network, led by the Canadian Committee for the International Union of Conservation and Nature, also known as IUCN. This network was created to support young people participating in the Global Youth Summit and other upcoming regional, national, and international events in the conservation sector. Over the past 2 weeks, you've probably heard from many outspoken young Canadians who had the chance to prepare through the IUCN network. This network reinforces how important it is for young people to collaborate, have equal opportunities, and ultimately be heard. We'd love to learn from all of you on how you engage and support youth voices in your communities and regions. After the IUCN-led workshop, the following summary was eloquently created by Caitlin Brandt from the feedback of young Canadian participants. I thought it was really well summarized that I'd love to read it here today. Youth are ready to take action and have the potential to make a huge difference in conservation policy when given the tools to succeed. We recommend the IUCN meet youth where they are, recognize what they are prepared to do and what they need, and provide them with opportunities in education, mentorships, and conservation careers. The environment, both built and natural, is changing faster than ever before. Young professionals should be involved at all levels of the IUCN, as their ability to learn and adapt quickly is an untapped asset to the organization. Canadian youth have recommended that the International Union for Conservation of Nature focus on reconciliation, making conservation more diverse, inclusive, and accessible. The IUCN must acknowledge the barriers facing diverse youth communities and promote thoughtful outreach activities. As much as we are proud of Canada's leadership and for championing conservation worldwide, we recognize the need for humility and are very aware that we still have a lot of work to do here at home. We don't have all the answers, and we want to learn from those around the world to turn international collaboration into tangible action. Youth have a vital role to play now for our futures. Lastly, I want to express my gratitude to all the young changemakers who have contributed to strengthening the voice of young people around the world and continue to do this profound work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabella. I think what we really need to remember through all of this is the learning from each other, right? No matter where we are in the world, we always have something to learn from each other and to share with each other. So thank you for those messages on behalf of yourself, Parks Canada, and young people in Canada as well. Next, I would like to give the floor to Madame Bérangère Abba, Secretary of State to the Minister for Ecological Transition in charge of biodiversity, to share with us some reflections on behalf of the government of France. Madame la Ministre, over to you.
Merci Anna. Bonjour à tous. Monsieur le directeur général, cher Bruno, Madame la secrétaire exécutive et à vous tous qui participez à cet événement qui est, je crois, sans précédent, avec 13 000 jeunes du monde entier sur ces thématiques qui nous sont si chères. Alors d'abord, vous remercier pour cette mobilisation, ce moment qui, je pense, va être fondateur dans une année qui, à la fois, nous a mis avec brutalité face aux enjeux des déséquilibres et des atteintes à la biodiversité, une pandémie qui, on le sait, résonne beaucoup avec les atteintes à l'environnement et la place que l'on donne aux activités humaines, aux espèces sauvages sur notre planète. Et je crois qu'on était conscients, et vous étiez les premiers conscients des enjeux climatiques. On connaît très bien aujourd'hui leurs mécanismes, les événements qui sont violents de catastrophes naturelles, d'inondations. L'érosion de la biodiversité, elle était plus sourde, elle était plus discrète. Et je crois qu'on percevait mal les impacts et les enjeux qui se cachaient derrière sa préservation. Aujourd'hui, les jeunes se saisissent du sujet et quand on voit la force avec laquelle vous avez porté les sujets du climat tout en haut de l'agenda politique mondial. Je ne vous cache pas que je suis heureuse, contente et peut-être rassurée de vous voir aujourd'hui vous saisir des enjeux de biodiversité avec cette force et ce volontarisme. Je crois que parfois, quand on voit arriver la vague comme ça, quand on prend conscience aussi brutalement, aussi violemment des choses, on pourrait être paralysé. Et d'expérience dans ces situations, ne pas se laisser justement enfermer dans ces peurs et cette sensation qu'on n'a pas les moyens d'agir, que c'est trop important et que à nous seuls, avec nos petites mains, on ne va pas réussir à influer sur grand-chose. Je crois que le réflexe le plus sain et le plus salvateur et le plus puissant, c'est celui justement de passer à l'action, même à côté de chez soi, même dans un petit geste du quotidien, sans attendre de renverser la table, mais en tout cas, le meilleur moyen de s'endormir le soir, le cœur un peu apaisé, parce qu'on s'est dit qu'on a fait ce que l'on devait et qu'on a fait ce qu'on a pu aujourd'hui, c'est le colibri. Je crois c'est ça qui donne du sens à la vie. Et même si souvent, et peut-être même toute notre vie, on le fera bénévolement et c'est un don de soi, mais la richesse qu'on en tire, je crois qu'elle vaut vraiment toutes les ressources et tous les cadeaux. Je crois que trouver du sens à la vie dans cet engagement pour ce qui fait sens, la préservation de la nature, c'est vraiment un cadeau qu'on se fait, qu'on fait aux générations futures et puis qu'on se fait à nous aussi en sachant pourquoi on se bat et pourquoi on se lève le matin. Donc vraiment, je sais que vous êtes chanceux parce que vous avez déjà trouvé ce chemin. Si vous êtes là aujourd'hui, c'est que vous avez déjà éprouvé ce besoin vraiment de vous engager et de donner ce sens-là à votre vie. L'enjeu aujourd'hui, c'est de le partager. Et donc, merci à l'IUCN, merci aux organisateurs de ces événements qui vous donnent aussi cette plateforme et cette visibilité pour emporter avec vous toutes ces générations qui ne demandent qu'à trouver ce chemin de l'engagement. On a aujourd'hui, devant cette année qu'on vient de passer, qui est assez terrible partout dans le monde, on a un moment assez exceptionnel de prise de conscience, donc, et puis d'événements nationaux, internationaux, chez vous, chez nous, et puis à la fin de l'année, avec ce congrès mondial pour la nature, d'abord de l'IUCN, que la France aura vraiment la joie, la grande joie et la fierté d'accueillir au mois de septembre, puis au moment de la COP15, l'opportunité de les porter très très haut, ces sujets, et de faire de cette COP15 à la biodiversité ce que la COP21 a été au climat, vraiment ce moment fondateur de la mobilisation internationale. Donc, vous serez évidemment très, très présents, et je l'espère, en tout cas, je vous en remercie d'avance et je vous en félicite, sur l'événement de l'IUCN. On s'organise tous, malgré le contexte, pour vraiment se donner tous les moyens et les chances que tout le monde puisse participer pleinement à cet événement. Même si on manque encore un petit peu parfois de visibilité sur les possibles au mois de septembre. En tout cas, sachez qu'on prévoit toutes les éventualités pour que, d'une manière ou d'une autre, tout le monde puisse être associé et vraiment puisse participer pleinement et puis mobiliser et mener ces négociations qui doivent nous donner ce mandat très fort, effectivement, pour la fin de l'année. J'ai bien pris aussi, et c'est tout ce que j'essaye d'incarner dans mon engagement, cette nécessité de s'affranchir des postures. C'est vrai que je crois que c'est vraiment important de faire cette différence entre le militantisme et certaines paroles qui peuvent être radicales, voire cassantes, et exclure ceux qui auraient des positions peut-être qu'on estimerait trop lentes, pas assez engagées, ou bien justement trop radicales et trop violentes, trop brutales. Je crois qu'on a cette responsabilité aussi pour faire avancer nos sujets, de réconcilier toujours, et dans ces aspects, je dirais, politiques, de vraiment se prémunir de blocages et de propos définitifs, parce que je crois qu'en responsabilité aussi, on doit pas perdre une minute, quoi. On doit pas perdre une minute, on doit pas perdre une journée, on doit pas perdre une année ou 2 ou 3 en fonction du calendrier politique. Chaque jour compte. Et donc, tout ce qu'on arrive à construire, même si ça ne va pas assez vite qu'on le souhaiterait, quand on est plus ou moins conscient de l'urgence et des enjeux, c'est une journée qu'on ne doit pas perdre, et donc il faut la mobiliser au maximum et à chaque instant. Et donc, j'étais heureuse d'entendre que dans votre engagement, vous étiez aussi conscient de ça. Même si des fois il faut pousser un peu, et on compte sur vous aussi pour mobiliser et puis avoir une voix forte et déterminée, parce que ça entraîne, ça donne aussi de l'énergie et une dynamique à des politiques publiques qui bien souvent connaissent une inertie malheureusement que vous n'avez pas. Mais tout ça, ça doit vraiment se trouver, je crois, dans un moment, il faut qu'on fasse front commun, et donc surtout travailler à se réconcilier plutôt qu'à se faire des reproches qui en fait freinent nos sujets. Donc, je crois que ces enjeux-là, ils sont essentiels. Je crois que cette force que l'on en tire, vraiment cette puissance, elle va bien au-delà de tout ce qu'on peut porter comme déclaration d'intention. Je crois que c'est vraiment dans le quotidien et dans chaque personne qu'on arrive un petit peu à réveiller la curiosité sur ces sujets, ou à élever un petit peu le regard. Je crois que c'est une journée, une heure de gagner. Et voilà. Donc, vraiment, merci à tous pour cet engagement. Alors, en France, on essaye de trouver aussi les meilleurs relais. On a donc un dispositif qui va nous permettre aussi d'emmener jusqu'à la COP15 des délégués, des ambassadeurs de la biodiversité, comme on connaissait les ambassadeurs du climat. Donc, un de ces jeunes va nous accompagner jusqu'en Chine à la fin de l'année et il sera lui-même le relais de tous ceux qui souhaitent s'engager avec vous et avec lui. Donc, vraiment à votre disposition aussi pour débloquer, pour vous accompagner dans des projets locaux ou là où vous repérez des freins, des blocages, vraiment n'hésitez pas à nous solliciter. On est dans une année de mobilisation. On a un devoir de cohérence entre ce que l'on fait les uns et les autres au niveau national et fonction des contextes de nos différents pays. Et on a à se rejoindre sur des engagements et une cohérence au niveau international. Donc travaillons ensemble et bravo parce que vous gagnez pas mal de temps de vie, je crois, en démarrant aussi vite et aussi fort dans un engagement pour la planète. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Ministre. Thank you so much, Madame Abba, for your comments and for your insights and for your calls for us to be sure to act with strength and to mobilize, but at the same time to remember for us to be inclusive and collaborative and to unify our efforts together. Thank you so much. I also really appreciate your reflections that we should all remember, no matter where we are in the world, we can all make a difference, even if it is just within the small sphere of influence where we work, where we live, with our neighbors. We can all take small actions, and we should not feel frozen and concerned and overwhelmed by the nature of the challenges, because indeed they are overwhelming, but we can each do a small little part in our own environments to make a difference. Thank you very much, Madame la Ministre, for your comments. Next, I would like to move to one of our wonderful moderators from one of our intergenerational dialogues, Archana. Archana, we would like you to reflect today on some of the key takeaways from the dialogue which you moderated on supporting and valuing the voice of Indigenous people and the role of young people in this space. What do you think we need to do to truly help us move forward? We heard a lot in the dialogue across the Youth Speak labs, in the workshops, about our need to avoid tokenism and that we really need to move away from youth washing to truly create meaningful intergenerational partnerships. So what would you like to share with us today, Archana? What do we need to do to help us truly move forward to act for nature? Over to you, Archana.
Thank you, Hannah, for giving me this opportunity to share our reflection of the intergenerational dialogue which we had on valuing and supporting Indigenous peoples, the role of youth. Before I move on to the reflection, I would like to congratulate the entire team for pulling up this Global Youth Summit. It has been remarkable landmark for IUCN, and a special words of appreciation for all our interpreters, those who are here making it more accessible to each and every one of us. A tremendous job done by them, and like really heartfelt gratitude to everyone, entire team. Yes, and so moving on towards the reflection of the intergenerational dialogue, which came out very strongly in the dialogue, was that make Indigenous communities leaders of conservation, not victims of conservation. And I think it is very important at this point of time, when we are at the end of Global Summit, that how do we ensure that the Indigenous leadership in conservation and climate action discourse is supported and enabled. And when we are talking about supporting and enabling, the first and the foremost prerequisite which comes is in terms of protection of the Indigenous and local communities and the young people. It is very important that we create safe and enabling spaces for young people and Indigenous and local communities, because across the globe we have seen tremendous gross human rights violation of the Indigenous people, local communities and youth. And that is what I say, protection is very important in terms of ensuring participation. And the second thing which I would like to emphasize in terms of participation and contribution of the indigenous and local communities is recognition of their rights over the land, forest, and territories. It is very, very important. And to respect the traditional knowledge and practices of the indigenous communities, and at the same time also to understand and respect their worldview. Because one thing which is very important when we are talking about indigenous young leadership, there has to be transition of these traditional knowledge. But because of extractive developmental projects and imposition of policies, there has been often land grab, there has been migration, there has been displacement, which is also breaking the relationship and creating hurdles in terms of this transition. And that is where I feel free, prior, and informed consent of the indigenous peoples is very core when we are talking about supporting and valuing indigenous people. And another very important point, which is very as we are talking about COVID-19 recovery efforts. COVID-19 recovery efforts has to acknowledge that how indigenous people's entrepreneurship skills, their forest-based livelihood have been contributing towards climate action and conservation efforts. And at the same time, for us indigenous and local communities, nature is our identity, land is our identity, land is our ancestors. So also acknowledging this relationship of the indigenous people with the nature will enable us to ensure that how we are giving opportunities to indigenous people to create their own strategies and policies for their own areas in terms of conservation and climate justice discourse. And what needs to be done and what ways to take away in terms of the Global Youth Summit is, I feel it is very important to ensure that the indigenous voices are accepted in the policy making spaces, because as it is not only hearing the voices, but also it is implementing their voices, and implementing their suggestion will be very, very crucial. And at the same time, when we are talking about tokenism, it is again to ensure more and more participation of the youth. And I feel the effort done by IUCN in terms of interpretation was a great start, because language is a barrier, because we all come from a very different geographical location, and that is what we'll have to keep in mind when we are going ahead in terms of our takeaways and when we plan our post-summit efforts. And the last thing which I would like to say is that see us young people as your allies, and we have immense like I would like to say that we are leaders of our present, and we all have been working and contributing in our own individual capacities and collectively as well. So my message to all the young people, those who have joined today, is to let us continue to speak up and act and hold our countries and our global leaders accountable.
Thank you so much, Archana, for those powerful words. It is truly a remarkable thing to see you here joining us today. So thank you so much for your efforts in your communities to make the voices of Indigenous communities heard and to really shift the needle in this space. So thank you so much. If I remember correctly, I think you've said before, language justice is climate justice. And I think that rings so true. So thank you for bringing that perspective to us here. We really do need to remember in this space that youth are all around the world, working, living, communicating in all languages. And we do need to make sure that as wonderful as we have these moments, we have opportunities and ways to reach out to people working in different regions, in different cultures, and different languages. So thank you, Archana, for that statement. The UN Major Group on Children and Youth also has an incredible network of active youth groups from around the world, engaging on a vast range of issues, from migration, humanitarian, and environmental issues to caucus groups focusing on finance for development and faith. Ugratna, as a core member of the team, having recently concluded an impressive Youth Environment Assembly, can you share with us how the UN Major Group on Children and Youth can bring together the outcomes from both the YEA and the Global Youth Summit? How do you think MGCY can take the momentum from the summit and help share it, own it, and move it forward? Over to you, Ugratna.
Thank you very much, Hannah, and thank you so much for having me. I am Ugratna from India, elected focal point for the Children and Youth Major Group, the UN Environment Program, and coordinating youth engagement work for UNEA and environment governance processes. On behalf of Major Group for Children and Youth, first of all, we express deep appreciation and congratulations to the team of IUCN and partners of the summit, especially the youth constituency, the Global Youth Biodiversity Network, that have helped shape this summit into a historic success. I was inspired to hear the outcomes from the Youth Speak Labs series just earlier in the session today, and diverse range of young people and youth voices involved in those. As you mentioned, Hannah, while the summit is concluding here today, it is now us, the young people, the youth organizations, the participants, to take these messages forward into the future processes and what is upcoming in the coming months. Starting now, we will have range and series of key moments leading up to Stockholm Plus 50 next year in April, where mainstreaming voices of youth, especially the messages that have come out from the summit, is going to be very important. To highlight a few, the theme of this year's World Environment Day is Restoring Our Earth. As we kick off the 10-year-long UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, offering us an opportunity to prevent, halt, and reverse the degradation of our landscapes. And the leadership of young people is going to be crucial in this. We are currently designing the Youth Task Force of the Decade together with UNEP and FAO, and we recognize that IUCN is already leading the Science Task Force of the Decade, and it would be absolutely important that the views of young people that have been shared in the summit are captured in that particular Youth Task Force, and we see how we can have better synergies as we move forward. Secondly, as you've already heard from my colleagues here, there are COPs of the Rio Conventions that are upcoming, where the different constituencies would be engaging. So it would be essential to engage the outcomes from the summit and the key messages in those platforms as well. As we move forward, we really have to unite the three pillars of nature action, climate action, and pollution action that form the environmental dimension of the 2030 agenda. Thirdly, and probably most importantly, next year in 2022, we are commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Stockholm Conference from 1972, which marks 50 years since the discussions on environment started and mainstreamed in the UN system. As a Major Group for Children and Youth, we are currently working on what youth engagement framework for Stockholm Plus 50 could look like. Another very essential avenue where we invite the IUCN Global Youth Summit community to work with us and join hands in shaping this future together, as it links to the very important theme of sustainable consumption and production and young people and green jobs. Finally, colleagues, while the UN has commemorated its 75th anniversary last year, and we are talking about multiple year plans, let us remember we do not have next 20 or 50 years to solve the crises that we face today. The action is needed now, actions that are for the young people, but also with the young people. We take this opportunity to call upon the IUCN leadership to build a self-organized mechanism that ensures youth engagement across all structures of IUCN and work with the existing youth constituencies, movements, and counterparts in doing so. Take words into action and mainstream young people in the work that IUCN is doing. Finally, I want to remind all of you that the role of young people and meaningful youth engagement is not just limited to summit. Young people, especially those from the communities of Global South, those that are facing work and descent-based discrimination, those that are facing harassment or diversions from their government because of the work that they're doing as young environmental defenders, have to be extremely mainstreamed and have to be recognized in the UN system. Young people from the grassroots communities, our brothers and sisters from the indigenous communities, have been traditionally sidelined, and they should not be channeled through international and European networks in order to be leading the way into the UN system. UN system and multilateral organizations, including the IUCN network itself, has to ensure direct and meaningful representation of the young people, much like it did through its youth series, Youth Speak series, and different sessions that have taken place. Our advocacy and messages at young people have to be repeated and echoed with concrete action on different levels and to the global level until it is heard, until we break the silos and include those that further left behind. And we hold the polluters accountable. I once again congratulate IUCN and the whole team of the IUCN and the partners, especially France, especially Canada, that have supported in making this youth summit a success and one of its first youth summit. And recognizing that this is happening in a time where we have COVID-19 pandemic raging through communities and that we are all here in virtual format. This could not have been done in a much better way than it has been done now, and making sure that young people are able to take leadership and ownership of what they are supposed to be really doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yugratna, for those powerful words. I think you have highlighted some very tangible, concrete steps, next steps for all of us to take action. Thank you for inviting IUCN and IUCN's youth constituencies to join these various processes. Clearly, we have a lot of work to do together moving forward. And I'm so glad to hear you mention the anniversary of Stockholm +50 next year, as well as the important themes of sustainable consumption and production and green jobs. In this time where we're all struggling to get through this COVID pandemic, and in a time where nature-based recovery is more critical than ever to consider, these are such important themes and issues to look at and to shape our global discourse around. So thank you so much for those remarks. And truly, listening to all of you gives me such a sense of excitement and hope. It's been truly energizing to hear concrete, tangible ways in which each of you plans to take forward these outcomes, to amplify the voice of youth, to strengthen intergenerational partnerships, and to implement actions for nature. And for those tuning in, thank you so much. The chat has been on fire. Keep dropping in your comments, your thoughts and reflections, and the way in which you will own the outcomes. So to close our panel, I would like to invite back our Director General, Dr. Bruno Oberle, for some final reflections, having heard all these dynamic thoughts and engagements from across our panelists here. Over to you, Bruno.
Thank you very much, Anna. It is almost impossible to gather all these ideas, all this energy that was in the conversation in this panel, but also in the days before. So let me simply be the one that concludes this summit. First of all, I have to recognize that we were helped by member organization and non-member organization in helping organizing this summit. Let's remind the support that we got from Park Canada, from the Rainforest Trust, from the Ocean Wise, and a number of other supporters and donors that are listed on the summit webpage. And then my gratitude goes also to the scientific commissions of IUCN, as well as to many other partners inside and outside the union that have contributed a lot to this success. It is really meaningful to hear from the young people both calls for action and their own commitment. It is encouraging to see readiness of youth and emphasis which they place on the intergenerational dialogues and partnership. The outcomes of this summit are foundation for the conservation of tomorrow. And we will making sure these outcomes are taken up in the IUCN programmatic work and all parts of the union. IUCN is committed to strengthening the engagement with youth. And there's a number of concrete ways that where it will continue to do so in the coming months and years. You have already heard about the IUCN Academy initiative that could be a vehicle to further engage with youth and to share the knowledge that is inside the union. There is another initiative, the nature-based recovery initiatives, that could be a vehicle where we ask government to use the money that they invest to reboot the economy in a different way, making sure that the future economies are greener, more sustainable, and don't bring additional negative impact to nature. And through our engagement, the engagement of the union, including the youth stakeholders in the next step of the global debate, they were already remembered by the previous speaker. We have a series of meetings of the parties in the CBD convention, in the climate convention, in the desertification convention, and then next year in Stockholm, where +50, where the topic of youth engagement and the role of youth will again be one of the important topic. We have carried out inside the Secretariat and the Union a so-called youth review. Following the summit, we will be assessing the different recommendations and determining ways in which we want to start implementing them inside our organization to make the awareness for the youth perspective more concrete, more clear, and more present in our organization. And finally, I want to welcome the participant of the summit to the IUCN Congress in September, where we will land the outcomes of your discussions during the Youth Summit moment on the 3rd of September, but also in several events during the forum, as well as during the members' assembly, where the members will take decisions. IUCN can be an amplifier of these great outcomes. I look forward to see you all at our Congress starting on the 3rd of September in Marseille, France.
Thank you very much, Bruno, and thank you for that invitation. We are all truly excited and ready for Congress in a couple of months. So we have much work to be done before then, but we will be there. So thank you all. Thank you so much for being on this panel with us. It has been truly insightful. What we've heard from our panelists today is not only a reiteration of the value of engaging with and amplifying young voices, but also of how critically important it is for us to now own these outcomes and move forward together in implementation through intergenerational dialogue and through partnerships for nature. Thank you, thank you, thank you once again to each of our inspiring panelists for bringing your perspectives and views to the table today. As we've been saying, just as valuable and insightful as these reflections are, we know that each of you connected here today has so much to contribute to the collective voice. And so with that, let's bring back Austin and hear what has been collected from the Jamboards. Over to you, Austin.
Thank you. The Jamboards have still been popping, and I get a chance to harvest some of the things that have come up. So I want to share that Abdullah Zamad shares a world needs youth like us. We are for our future. Together, we can. There's also continue informing people in urban and rural areas to raise awareness of climate change. Allowing more chances for young and emerging researchers in developing countries to partner with researchers in developed countries in topics related to environmental sustainability, to foster and accelerate environmental sustainability research and the development of green technologies. El Hamid Sharif from Egypt says, I personally am working on using microalgae grown in salt water for bioremediation and of brine, and would love to connect with researchers abroad working within the same or similar research topics. We have Sans Eau, La Vie n'est possible, Williams DJE, that's my French. And then mi español, me voy llena de nueva información e iniciativas que se están desarrollando en otros países. También podrían funcionar en mi país. I speak for all the young professionals who seek job and training opportunities. Create the system of support for us to be able to qualify for the green jobs that are being created. There is connected to like-minded friends. There's a lot of really powerful messaging about collective action and the power and the need of working together. There's 1% of the GDP of every country for conservation of nature. 1%, 1% del PIB de cada país para la conservación de la naturaleza. And then, again, I want to bring it back to one that I highlighted before. My voice matters just as much as the experts and speakers. Transformative change is happening. Todo proyecto de conservación es un proyecto social. The key to change is love for nature, not fear. This has to be something that is magnetizing us and pulling us forward. We have to be moving towards something. We have to be magnetized for it. So those are some of the things that I have gotten a chance to witness on the jam boards, and I am now going to pass it to my man, my friend, and my collaborator, Micah. Take it away.
Austin, thank you so much for that amazing upliftingness. And of course, you also speak Spanish and French like a boss. Thank you so much to everybody. I'm super excited because what Austin and I have been working on sneakily during the last round of speakers is actually creating an original song based on what came out of the entire summit and what y'all have been writing on the jam boards. And now I get to premiere it for you live. And so these are your words brought together in music. Here we go. Thumbs up if you can hear.
Bueno, sí, pero no es tan así, ¿eh? No está tan grave la situación.
Quite young to be a doctor.
Ajá. Ay, muy bien. Tú
¿Y a dónde leíste eso?
We are not your photo op. We are the youth of this world, whose future hangs in balance. You tell us what can we do? We're ready for the challenge. We are the ocean, the forest, breathing for humanity. Come with me, we're gonna save our planet. Our time is running out to answer nature's cries. Pretending not to hear will only lead to our demise. But some of us have wisdom living with the land. Can we lend a hand? Together take a stand. Whose future hangs in balance. You tell us what can we do? We're ready for the challenge. We are the ocean, the forest, breathing for humanity. Come with me, we're gonna save our planet. We will not be your tokens. We will lay your systems bare. No seats left at the table. We will bring a folding chair. Whose future hangs in balance. You tell us what can we do? We're ready for the challenge. We are the ocean, the forest, breathing for humanity. Come with me, we're gonna save our planet. Lucharé por los derechos de nuestra madre tierra. Water is not a luxury. This is the moment when we became outlets for change. This is the moment when we became outlets for change. Les changements, c'est grâce à vous. For the earth, I sing for the trees, I sing for the flowers and for the bees and for all of you and me. Oh, We're ready for the challenge. We are the ocean, the forest, for humanity. Come with me, we're gonna save our planet. So thanks, y'all. That is all your words. All your words. All Austin and I did was a little studio magic. What I can say, I saw so many comments happening there of like, oh my God, how can we sing along? I want to download it. Good news, you can. What we're going to be doing is actually creating an epic music video that is crowdsourced from this entire community and anybody in the world. And here, boom, Becca just threw it in the chat. So there is here at iucnyouthsummit.org/youthspeak, there is a page where you can download the song. You can sing along with it, record yourself, film yourself. You can film nature sounds. You can go to somewhere beautiful or somewhere tragic, or you can film yourself doing something awesome for the planet. You can, like, literally anything you can think of in any media is welcome in this video. You can sing, you can play, you can dance, you can sign in whatever language. There's so many possibilities. Check it out. We're really, really excited to get to make this song magic with all of y'all. Over to you, Chunmin.
Yeah, that's great. Like, it's really awesome. And we also have Mona here. Yeah, so Mona, go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Mika. Thank you so much for putting this together. It was really lovely to hear it. And again, I just want to invite everybody to go ahead and share with us what it is that you want to see in the song, be it for the videos, be it if you have any more lyrics you want to put in, any nature sounds you want to put in. We definitely want to make this as participatory as possible. We want to hear from you. And we will be waiting for your input all the way until the 14th of May. Remember, there are multiple jam boards. Go on the one that you prefer the most, the one that you relate to the most, and put up whatever it is you're feeling like putting up: pictures, videos, you dancing, nature sounds, anything and everything is absolutely welcome. And if you feel like putting your contributions on more than one Jamboard, we're also looking forward to hear from you and to see what it is that we can put together as the youth who participated here. And of course, this is open to everybody. So we look to hear from you until May the 14th. So hopefully we can come together and put this out. Thank you so much for this, Mika. And everybody, please don't miss out. Go ahead and put your voices in.
And remember, this is just the beginning of a movement. We have gathered all your voices and ideas in all the sessions over the past 2 weeks, and we summarized them into an outcome statement, which is a set of demands for action that we will share with heads of state, policymakers in multilateral organizations, COP delegates, so we can all showcase your voices and push for action. And we are really excited to invite you to give us feedback on our platform through the link, which will be put in the chat below before May 14th. And let's all move together to create changes for us, for future generations, and for and with nature.
We have heard youth speak. It's time to show youth act. So join our amazing Your Promise, Our Future campaign. Strengthen and amplify your demands with your commitments. It's all you. And let's do this all together. So share your promises and help us put pressure on governments, on businesses, on decision makers, on everybody to do the same. And let's show the world how we can act and remind them it's time that they do the same.
So please sign the For Nature Manifesto and then visit the Youth Speak website to share your commitments and add your voice to our outcomes work. I can't wait to see all of your superstar performances in our collaborative music video.
Oh, okay, guys, what's up? Well, things come to an end, guys. And but you know, this is what I would say is the beginning of something great. So don't look at this at the end. This summit is coming to a close, but it is really just a new beginning. So guys, if you missed anything, we're going to continue to be uploading the recording sessions to the Global Youth Summit playlist on the IUCN YouTube channel. Okay, so let's take a quick moment. I want to make sure we can shout out everyone who's put in their love and time to make this summit happen. Thank you so much, everyone behind the scenes. Tasha, you rock. The organizing team. It was a massive amount of volunteers. Can't thank you all by name, but just thank you so much. So yes, before we head out, I want to ask everyone to take a moment and just think about something. You know, I want you to ask yourself why you're here. You know, what was the reason that you've committed yourself to becoming a change maker? You know, maybe some of us hear a voice, someone who's encouraged us or inspired us. Some of us, it may be a special place we love, that we cherish, that we want to protect. You know, it's going to be different for all of us. You know, for me, I use my passion of music, and I want to, you know, help people feel empowered to make change. So that's the place I'm coming from. You know, it's going to be different from each of us, but, you know, try to see if you can connect for just a moment. Just think about that and think about what lights your fire, what powers your battery, right, for change. Feel it, see it. And all together, just know that we're making this commitment right now to move forward and make it happen together. Yeah. So guys, of course, this has been amazing. We came together, across 170 countries with all these different reasons, these different motivations, different cultures, you know, that got us here. And from now on, just know that we're all outlets for change, and we roll together. But we don't want to, you know, attack change in silos. We want to do this together. So this is definitely that start of us, you know, coming together. So let's try something before I roll out of here. Something never before done, guys. Grab your cell phone. I always talk about everyone being an outlet, right? That's what this logo is. So find an outlet. Let's do find an outlet. Take a photo, selfie, something on your wall, in your kitchen. If you're on the computer and you're plugged in somewhere, take a photo of an outlet. Hashtag battery door, hashtag, you know, when nature, something like that, so we can find you, right? We'll put some ideas in the chat box. And let's see how many people are listening and are plugged in and are now outlets for change, right? This is a crazy idea, but let's see. I'm gonna check my phone and see who all is here. So, you know, tell me if you're with me. Drop it in the chat if you want to as well. You know, wherever you guys are, this could be really, really awesome. So thank you guys for having me here. My name is AY. Keep an eye out on your inbox. We have gifts coming for all the participants. This is not a goodbye. This is a hello. One future, one nation, one nature. Please make sure you guys, join the IUCN Congress, where your voices will be reflected to participants of all generations across the globe. Peace out, guys. This was great.